All right, so we're gonna just continue talking about the book, and I know the Age of Aquarius was one of the topics on the book that you really wanted to know more about. Were you able to read at least a lot of the book, Fulani?
Yeah, yeah, I read pretty much, the whole thing. To be honest with you, it's probably
Did you,
one of the very one
yeah,
of the very few books that I've read from front to back. But
really?
yeah,
That's
yeah,
good to hear.
pretty, yeah. One of the things that I quoted from the book was, I think there was a section in the book, and it was like in the beginning where it stated a whole being is a sovereign being who no longer depends on external validation from society, religion, family, culture, friends, or social systems because they have discovered the light within their own darkness. And I kind of like had my own reflection of that and like kind of like what that meant, and I kind of like came up to outcome of like, many people constantly, in this life seek external validation through those different systems, whether it's relationship status or I would say like public approval, because they were never taught how to validate themselves, internally. So society has kind of conditioned people to depend on being accepted from others in order to feel worthy, successful, attractive, or just important in general. So social media has kind of social, I guess it's the root of all evils, but social media has intensified this issue by creating, unrealistic character comparisons. Many men see images of muscular bodies, luxury cars, money, different lifestyles online, and start to compare themselves without realizing that, they're only seeing a selected highlight reel of someone's life. And beyond those images, many of those people may still be struggling, spiritually, emotionally, psychologically, or financially. Authenticity, and creating insecurities that disconnect people from their natural selves. And I know that's the goal, and they're doing a hell of a good job at it. Another thing that was, stated in the book was how society often teaches people that love and acceptance are, conditional, right? And how many individuals feel pressured to hide, different aspects and different parts of themselves, and also, soften their opinions or abandon, like, their dreams in order to kind of fit into social expectations. Everything's about fitting into societal norms and social expectations, which is, like I said, once again, I'll use my famous word, it's criminal. And over time, this creates disconnection from, one's authentic identity, and it can lead to suffering, and, self-worth, insecurities, all of that is crazy, and instead of encouraging what is it, individuality and, wisdom and understanding your inner self, society often rewards, what do they reward? Obedience, right? A repetition and fitting into those social expectations and societal norms. So they love obedience. They love that. And over time, this is conditioning. And it can disconnect people from their authentic identity. Creativity and spiritual growth. And we're seeing that's very very prevalent. Right now. There's like no eye contact, no eye contact. They don't
Right.
even know how to have a conversation. They can't look you in the eyes. They're constantly looking down. And it's not just children. Too. It's everybody. Now even adults. And that's why going into introducing this topic of the age of the Aquarius. Of what we're in right now. AI and technology, right? Phones and social media is the worst thing that's happened to everyone. I'm not going to just single out certain people. It's everybody. And it's becoming a major part of this era, right? And we have a crazy amount of access to information and connection. It's also like becoming frightening of how rapidly it's advancing. No privacy at all. People think, oh yeah, technology is advancing. Yeah, oh yeah, we get more, get more passwords and stuff like that. Little do they know, like AI, and like I think Joe Rogan said in one of his podcasts that in like the next year or so, AI is going to be able to like hack through all those passwords that you guys that everyone had. Ain't gonna be no such thing as no encryptions or anything of that nature. So it's slowly disappearing, and people are like overly dependent on technology to be able to like think, create, solve problems, and even communicate emotionally. They use AI to help them communicate their feelings and emotions. So sad because like when I go out to like go out to eat, I'm starting to see like families of four, families of five, everyone is like this, everyone is like this.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my God, that it just takes away from true, connection. Everyone is distracted, and it's sad. And
Yeah.
it's heavily impacting, people's mental health, especially the younger generations, you seeing rates of anxiety, depression, loneliness, suicidal thoughts, and emotional disconnection more than we've ever seen it. It's like drastically increased, like over like 100%. It's like it's crazy. And it's
Yeah.
becoming more common because people are constantly overstimulated and disconnected from real human interaction, such as like nature, science, and reflection. And outdoors is that's the technology. Outdoors is the real technology. That's where you people need to be at. And you hardly see people riding bikes, playing outside, um, playing sports, different type of, activities I used to play when I was a kid, and now everyone's like, packed indoors on their iPads and stuff like that. So it's getting out of control. It's what we're dealing with right now. It's completely, way bigger than us, and it's everywhere, and it's impacting, a lot of people. And you know, these phones are like a digital extension of our consciousness, right? And it collects our thoughts, it collects our habits, it collects our interests, emotions, conversations, and behaviors. And it's like you could be talking about something, right? And next you know, you go on the phone, it's it's showing you stuff that you just talked about with your coworker or with your partner, and it's giving you content on it. So there's devices are constantly like, listening to us. Like I said, there's no privacy,
No,
and
there's no
it's
privacy at all. I call it the ghost in the machine.
yeah, right, exactly.